help me welcome the Honorable Congressman Steve Pearce.
Thank you all. Thank you very much. Thank you. And I don't have to remind you, but I'm going to remind myself that we're here. We're going to be respectful of our government, but we're also going to express our opinions. We're going to be firm. We're going to be resolute. Because you and I, my friends, are the only thing standing between the government and your jobs. Now, I was interested to read yesterday in the Albuquerque Journal, the Albuquerque Journal, journalist Rene Romo writes, and he's quoting Michelle Shaughnessy, that there is no data to support that, said Michelle Shaughnessy, Assistant Regional Director for Ecological Services in Fish and Wildlife Southwest District. There are lots of people saying the listing will close down oil and gas. This is absolutely not true. That's according to an article in the Albuquerque Journal yesterday. The article doesn't mention the working group report from 2005 that came from the Fish and Wildlife Service that expressed concerns about oil and gas, about the effects on oil and gas, and on farming and agriculture. That should have been included. If the article had included a discussion with Ben Tuggle, the head of the Fish and Wildlife Service in New Mexico, then the writer would have understood that there is no study to document whether or not this is going to affect jobs at all or not. It's a quote from a person that has a political agenda inside the Fish and Wildlife Service. I talked to Gary Frazier, the Assistant Director for the Department in Fish and Wildlife Service, that is going to list this species or not list it. I asked him, sir, the constituents affected are the people that I represent. They're good, hard-working people. They're people that just pay their taxes every day, that raise their families, go to church, send their kids to school. What did you do, sir, in your study to consider their jobs? And he said, we didn't consider the jobs. And I said, you didn't consider the jobs? He said, no, we don't have to consider the jobs. So this person, Michelle Shaughnessy, yesterday made comments that she can't document that are in complete contrast with what her superior said, but the article doesn't quote that. My friends, Marita Noon had it right. You have enough experience to read what has happened in the past. You know that less than 2 years ago, the Fish and Wildlife Service went in and listed the Delta smelt in the San Joaquin Valley as endangered. If you watch closely, you would know that the Delta smelt listing as endangered put 27,000 farmers in the San Joaquin Valley out of work. It shut them down cold. And the Fish and Wildlife guy says that we don't have to consider the effects of jobs. They never have, and they never are. And we're here tonight to say that is not going to work. We're here tonight to say that we are going to look at your actions in the government, and you will start considering the American people, because the American people are considering you. You in the agencies who are taking away our livelihood. You are doing this to us, and we're going to look at that. And we're going to do it in an attitude of respect, and we're going to do it in an attitude of calm. But my friends, it is time. It is time for us to understand that this nation is spending $3.5 trillion a year, and we only collect $2.2 trillion a year. That is occurring because we're sending our jobs overseas. A government that does not have to measure the effect on jobs is sending your jobs overseas. First the timber jobs, then the mining jobs, now the oil and gas jobs. You had your president go to Brazil last week and he said we want Brazil to drill offshore, but he shut offshore drilling down in this country. And I will tell you, that is what is wrong with this country. That is the problem that is wrong with here. I want you parents to stand up to this government. I had a friend give me a little patch today. I'll read it for you, but I carry it in my pocket. It says, "I love my country, but I fear my government." Our founding fathers understood this. They said, when the government fears the people, you have freedom and liberty. And when the people fear the government, you have tyranny. So we have people right across the street who tell us that they've advertised these meetings. They're open meetings. They were available to all. And I asked them, did you advertise to tell them that the effect of your decision will be to kill jobs in this country? And they said, no, we don't have to. My friends, this is the kind of turnout you get when you begin to tell people the truth about what its government is doing. This is the kind of people that you have engaged. Our government has a $1.3 trillion deficit. It's got $15 trillion in accumulated debt. The President's own debt commission said the largest threat that we have to this government is the debt. And we're sending jobs overseas at a time when we're struggling with unemployment. We're struggling with a government that is out of control, that is spending more than it should. It's spending tomorrow's money for today. It's making promises that it can't keep. And it's taking away jobs that should be here. It would be a fairly simple matter to begin to rebuild our economy. Simply lower the taxes and make the regulations predictable. That's it. Now let's get a little background on this lizard. Let's understand. I don't have any qualms about keeping the lizard from going extinct. In fact, in this article in the Albuquerque Journal, it makes that comment. The jobs and the lizard should not be mutually exclusive. It's our government that makes them mutually exclusive, and it's the lawsuits brought by interminable agencies. It's the lawsuits that are brought. You reimburse those lawsuits that are killing your jobs. You reimburse the lawyers in those environmental groups to the tune of $350 to $500 an hour. And my friends, it's time to say enough is enough. Enough is enough. Join me in saying this. Enough is enough. 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 It is time to say to our government that we are a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. Now, in all truth, that by the people, we've been a little bit complacent for the last 50 or 60 years. But I will tell you, the American people came out of complacency last year as they began to realize the threats that we face from inside our own government. They began to go to the ballot boxes in extraordinary numbers. We voted in almost 25% new faces in the House of Representatives because the American people said enough is enough. They said to Washington last year, and keep in mind this is Democrats, Republicans, and independents alike, saying to its government, you're not listening to us. That's a very simple statement. And they had a sub-statement. And plus, we don't like what you're doing. So today, we're here to say to a government respectfully, you're not listening to us. And we don't like what you're doing. And we're going to make a change. Now, the preposterousness of what's going on across the street is that the sand dune lizard has a cousin that is not endangered. The cousin looks the same. You have to roll them on their back, and you have to raise up their arm, and you have to count the scales from here to here. The cousin has one more scale or one less scale, I don't know which, but the cousin has one more or one less scale, and it's not listed as endangered. And my friends, I will tell you that if they're dicing the onion that thin, then they're doing something that is not justified by science. I asked Mr. Frazier, will you provide me the DNA that shows the difference between the cousin and the one we're listing? And he said, I can't do that. They have a science that is not perfected, and they're going to cause our jobs to go away based on the history that we all can see. So we're going to walk across there in a few minutes. Again, we're going to begin to express our opinions. But know that it is not about the lizard. It's about people who hate our way of life in the West. It's about people who hate the fact that we would graze cattle on public lands for a fee. They hate the fact that we would extract resources. They hate the independence of the West. So these people are finding lizards, thistles, butterflies. They're finding a complete array of different reasons to put you out of a job because they don't like the independent spirit that we have out here. So what I'm telling you today is that don't be distracted by the lizard. We can get along with the lizard. In fact, there was a cooperative agreement among oil companies and agriculture producers. 6 or 8 oil companies contributed up to $1 million to create habitat. But then they received the lawsuits saying it's not enough. It is not enough because we want those jobs to go away. We want exclusive access to the San Joaquin Valley for the minnow, for the smelt. We want exclusive access to the U.S. forest by the spotted owl. We want exclusive access to these regions of southeast New Mexico by the sand dune lizard. Now understand that there also is a chicken, a lesser prairie chicken, that threatens the jobs too. So if we finish the fight on the lizard, we've got to turn right around and fight the chicken. They are saying that the chicken won't fly over the highline wires if you have electrical wires above the ground. These are the scientists saying that. They're saying that the chicken won't breed if we've got the rigs running during their hours of breeding. Now, I don't know about you, but I didn't ever find breeding to fit conveniently into the time of the day. But I suspect in that Federal Register somewhere that every Fish and Wildlife Service employee has got his schedule on there. But they say, these scientists in the Fish and Wildlife Service say, well, that spotted owl, the chicken will not fly over those highline wires, so we can't put them above the ground. You've got to plant them in the ground. And then a different group of the scientists inside the Fish and Wildlife Service says, well, we can't put them under the ground because that lizard stops when it comes to any infraction, any disturbance of the ground. Now, I've chased those lizards when I was growing up over in southeast New Mexico over by hogs. Never did catch any that I would admit to in public given the state of our government right now. But those lizards will run across anything, I'll just tell you that. It's our government that is creating myths. It's creating things that are convenient to say, because again, they're giving in to the groups that don't like you and they don't like your way of life. So this is ultimately not about the lizard. It is not about the lesser prairie chicken. It's not about the thistle. It's about our way of life. It's about our jobs. It's about you and me being able to feed our families. It's about you and me being able to pay our bills at the end of every month. Every time they kill a job, they make someone else dependent on the government. Our government has $3.5 trillion worth of dependents now, and it's got only $2.2 trillion of people working for it. That's a balance that we're having to make up by printing money. So we're seeing inflation skyrocket today because of the actions of our government. First they kill the job and then they print the money. That money takes away your welfare. That money takes away from what you have in your pocket. The printing of money. The Federal Reserve is buying 70% of our debt this year. We cannot continue to give the money to the Federal Reserve and borrow it back on this hand. We are in economic chaos right now. We are in a time where the security of our nation is at risk, where our ability to continue the economy of this great country is in doubt. And we're listing lizards that we have to count the scales underneath their arms. My friends, join with me to show up, to stand up, and speak up. When Americans begin to speak up, their government will listen and the government will respond. Americans have the ultimate power, that is the power to elect, to unelect. You can change this government. You can change the outcome of this particular listing. You can change the fact that they don't consider your jobs. You can change it today. You're going to join with me and we're going to walk across and we're going to say that enough is enough. Enough is enough. Enough is enough. God bless you, my friends. Thank you very much for being out here today. Thank you.